Cuthbert! In his Sunday suit? On a weekday? Where's he going and why? That's what I'd like to know. Don't need his Sunday suit to go after turnip seed, but he wasn't moving fast enough to fetch the doctor. I'm clean puzzled and won't know a moment's peace till I ask Marilla. If you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't. That brother of hers is the oddest fellow in all Canada. Can't get a blessed word out of him. Marilla!
Come in, Rachel. I knew she'd be right over.
3 plates. Must be expecting company. But everyday dishes? Believe I'll set a spell.
Fine evening, isn't it?
Fine, fine.
How's the family?
Fine. Marilla Cuthbert, where, for heaven's sake, was Matthew going in that buggy?
I thought you'd never ask. Matthew is going down to the station at Bright River. We're expecting a little orphan boy from the asylum.
Marilla Cuthbert, I think you're actually serious.
Well, of course, the boy's coming in on the train.
Adopting a boy? An old maid and a bachelor?
My arms are black and blue from catching myself, so I can't be dreaming. It's real. I am going to live on Prince Edward Island with a family of my very own, maybe even a bosom friend.
Really? What on earth put such a notion into your head?
We've been thinking it over for a while now. The Spencers were getting a little girl from the asylum and knew all about it. So we asked them to bring us a nice little boy.
Nothing will ever surprise me again. Nothing!
Matthew's been getting up in years and his heart troubles him now and again. And as you know, it's near impossible to find reliable help.
Lord, ain't that the awful truth? If you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't.
When we heard that the Spencers were getting a little girl, we sent word for them to bring us a nice Canadian lad, about 12 or so, old enough to be useful and young enough to be brought up proper.
If nobody comes tonight, I'll sleep in that wild cherry tree, all white with bloom in the moonlight, and pretend I'm with one of my make-believe friends.
You're doing a mighty foolish thing bringing a strange child into your home. Last week, I read of a couple that took in an orphan boy, and he set fire to the house. On purpose, Marilla, nearly burned them to a crisp in their beds.
I don't deny that I've had some qualms, Rachel.
And another adopted boy used to suck eggs. They couldn't break him of it, no way. If you had asked my opinion, which you didn't, I'd have said, gracious sakes, don't do such a thing.
Matthew was terrible set on it, so I gave in. Seldom he fixes his mind on anything.
And I read of another case in New Brunswick where an asylum child put strychnine in the well. Whole family died in fearful agonies. Only it was a girl in that instance.
Yes, well, we're not getting a girl. Fact is, I wonder if Mrs. Spencer ever tried it. I never dream of bringing a girl up.
Don't say I didn't warn you. Poor lad, what those two know about raising a child wouldn't fill a thimble. Well, I'm off to the McPhersons. This will make a sensation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cuthbert.
I reckon the 5:30 train will be along soon.
Nope. Been and gone half hour ago.
But I'm expecting a little...
A little girl? She's over there. I offered to let her into the station, but she preferred to stay outside.
But-
More scope for imagination.
But it's a little boy I've come for. Mr. Alexander Spencer was still supposed to bring a little boy over from Nova Scotia.
Mr. Alexander Spencer stepped off the train with that girl. Said to be along presently. Of course, he was off to New Salem Station. I'm off to supper.
But it's a little boy I've come for.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert. There's only one orphan on these premises.
I don't understand. I wish Marilla were here.
Perhaps they're out of your brand of boy. She can explain. She's got a tongue of her own.
Well, I can't tell her there's some mistake. And I can't ask her why she's not a boy. I couldn't just leave her here at the station either. I guess the best thing to do for now would be to bring her home. And let Marilla do the explaining.
Oh! I suppose you're Matthew Cuthbert of Green Gables. glad to meet you. I was afraid I might have to sleep in that wild cherry tree.
I'm sorry I'm late, miss.
Oh, it seems so wonderful that I'm going to live with you. I've never belonged to anybody before. Not really.
I'll take your suitcase, miss. Buggy's over yonder.
I can manage. It's not very heavy, though it does contain all my worldly goods and chattels. What are chattels, anyway?
Can't say as I rightly know. Step right in, miss.
Just think of all there is to find out. It makes me glad to be alive in such an interesting world.
Get a move on, girl.
I just love riding. Mr. Cuthbert, what do those white lacy blossoms remind you of?
Well, now, I don't know.
A bride, maybe, with a misty veil. Though no one would ever marry me, except a foreign missionary who couldn't be too particular.
Well, now, I wouldn't say that.
Though I would love to have a dress with great puffed sleeves. I've never owned a pretty dress before, not that I can remember. So, it's more to look forward to, isn't it?
Well, now, I suppose it is.
Am I talking too much? People always tell me I do. I can stop if I decide to, although it's very difficult.
No, talk as much as you like. I don't mind. Truth is, I sort of like her chatter.
You and I are going to be kindred spirits, indubitably. People always laugh at me for using big words, but when you have big ideas, you need big words to express them.
Well, now, that sounds reasonable enough, I suppose.
Right now, I am almost perfectly happy. I can't feel totally perfectly happy because, well, what color would you call this?
Well, now it's red, ain't it?
Nobody with red hair can be perfectly happy. The freckles, the green eyes, I can imagine them away, but I cannot imagine my red hair away. It will be my lifelong sorrow.
Well, now, I wouldn't be too sure on that.
Oh, Mr. Cuthbert!
Whoa, bro. They call it the Avenue.
What? Riding under a canopy of apple blossoms.
Right pretty place, the Avenue.
I should call it the White Way of Delight.
Well, now, that's a fine name. Never would have thought of it myself.
I always name the things I love.
We're coming pretty near home now.
Home? To think of coming to a real home. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert!
Barry's Pond.
I shall name it the Lake of Shining Waters.
I suppose Barry's Pond was always a mite plain and,
Sensible?
yeah, sensible. That's the very word I was getting at. Green Gables is just over this hill here.
I'm gonna shut my eyes tight. It's like a dream. I can hear the brook laughing and hear the trees talking and... Are you coming?
I'm afraid so. This way.
Matthew, where's the boy?
No boy, Marilla. Just her.
There must be a boy. We sent word for a boy.
Well, Mr. Spencer's only delivered a girl.
Oh, mercy's sakes.
I couldn't just leave her at the station, Marilla, no matter where the mistake done come
This
in.
is a fine kettle of fish.
You don't want me? Because I'm not a boy? I should have expected it. I should have known it's too beautiful to last.
She comes after what?
Well, no, not exactly.
And what am I supposed to do about this?
Well, I don't know, Marilla.
There. There's no need to take on, so.
You'd cry too if you were an orphan arriving someplace you thought was home, only to find out that they didn't want you either. Oh, this is the most tragical event of my entire life.
There is no need to get into a fever over it. We're not going to turn you out tonight. Now, what is your name, child?
Could you please call me Cordelia?
Call you Cordelia? Is that your name?
Well, not precisely, but Cordelia is such a perfectly elegant name.
Nonsense. If Cordelia is not your name, what is?
Anne Shirley. But if you must call me Anne, please be sure to call me Anne spelled with an E.
What difference does it make how it's spelled?
Simple old A-N-N looks dreadful, but A-N-N-E looks ever so much more distinguished.
Very well then, Anne with an E. Can you tell us how this mistake came to be made? Were there no boys available?
An abundance, but Mrs. Spencer said you distinctly wanted a girl about my age. Manager thought I would do. I couldn't sleep a wink all night. I was so thrilled.
I never should have trusted that Mabel Spencer.
Why didn't you just leave me at the station? I wish I'd never seen the white way of delight or the lake of shining waters.
Matthew, what is she talking about?
Just some conversation we had on the way over.
Sit down, Miss Zephyr. Matthew, pray.
Our Father who is in heaven, for these gifts which we are about to receive, please let us be truly grateful. Amen.
Did the Spencers bring over anybody else on the train?
Just Lily Jones for themselves. If I was 5 years old with beautiful nut brown hair, would you keep me?
No. We want a boy on the farm. A girl would be of no use.
You're not eating.
Can you eat when you're in the depths of despair?
I've never been in the depths of despair before, so I can't say.
My life is a graveyard full of buried hopes.
What?
I say that to comfort myself.
I don't see where the comfort comes in.
It's just a sentence from a book. The heroine says it 3 times.
I was never allowed to read such foolishness.
I guess she's tired, Marilla. Best put her to bed.
Get your things. Come with me. This is where you will sleep for tonight. Now undress quick and go to bed. I suppose you have a nightgown.
Just old flannel, but I pretend it's flowing.
It is sinful to think about your clothes too much. Good night, Anne.
Good night. Good night. This is the very worst night of my entire life.
This is a fine kettle of fish, Matthew. First thing tomorrow, I send word to Mr. Spencer. The girl goes straight back where she came from.
Well, now, I suppose so.
Suppose so. Matthew Cuthbert, don't you know so?
Well, now, she's a real nice little thing, Marilla. It seems a pity to send her back when she's so set on staying.
I'm amazed at you. You mean to say we ought to keep the girl?
Well, no, not exactly. I mean, we could hardly be reckoned to, but...
I should say not. What good would she be to us?
Well, we might be of some good to her.
Matthew, you've been bewitched. I can see plain as plain that you want to keep that urchin.
She is such an interesting little thing, Marilla. You should have heard her talk on the way over from the station.
It's nothing in her favor unless you're as odd as she is.
Well, maybe I am, because I kind of like her meanderings.
I don't want an orphan girl, Matthew. Besides, if I did, she's not the type I fancy. Tomorrow, Mr. Spencer can come and fetch her.
I could hire a farm boy to help, and the girl would be company for you.
I'm not suffering for company, Matthew. First thing tomorrow, I will send word to Mr. Spencer and she'll go straight back. And this whole ordeal will be over. Good night.
Whatever you say, Marilla.
By morning, I wasn't in the depths of despair anymore. That's what's splendid about mornings. From my window, I could hear the brook laughing and see the orchard blooming as if it meant it. And I made up my mind to enjoy this day, no matter what. This morning, I imagined I was a bee living in apple blossom. Wouldn't it be wonderful if flowers could talk?
There's enough talk around here.
And then I caught a glimpse of the sea and imagined I was a gull swooping down.
Could you please imagine helping me do the dishes? That would be more to the point.
Better looking after children. It's too bad you don't have any.
There are plenty around here for you right now, thank you.
Mrs. Hammond had 8. 3 sets of twins in succession is too much, and I told her so when the last pair came.
Since you seem to be bent on talking, why don't you tell me what you know about yourself?
Well, I like to imagine that I'm a princess stolen away by an evil nurse who died before she could confess the truth.
Stick to the plain bald facts, if you please.
Well, after my folks died of the fever, nobody really wanted me. So Mrs. Thomas took me in, said I was the homeliest, scrawniest child. I stayed there till I was 8, looking after the children. But Mr. Thomas got drunk one too many times. He died falling under a train, so Mrs. Thomas moved back home.
I'm not sure I'm following all of this.
Oh, it's very simple. Her folks didn't want me either, so Mrs. Hammond took me in, seeing as I was handy with children.
Then how did you come to be at the asylum?
Well, after her husband ran off, she parceled out the twins and shipped me to the asylum.
Were these women good to you, Anne?
Oh, they meant to be. Of course, the asylum was full up, so they didn't want me either. But I stayed there 3 months till Mr. Spencer came.
He's coming for you now. Get your things. And who's that with him? Mrs. Blewett, that nasty, mean-tempered woman.
Hello, Miss Cuthbert. And how are you, Anne? As well as can be expected.
Mr. Spencer, there has been a strange mistake. We told your wife that we wanted to adopt a boy.
My sincere apologies. I was expressly told that Miss Cuthbert and her brother was to adopt a girl. Puzzled me how Mail could have gotten it switched like that.
The asylum will take her back, won't they?
Frankly, I don't think that will be necessary. Mrs. Blewett was telling your wife about how much she wanted a girl.
Got a heap of squalling young uns and can't hardly keep any help.
I think Anne here will be just the thing for you, Mrs. Blewett. I call it providential. Yes, positively providential.
I suppose so. Although nobody deserves Mrs. Blewett.
Yes, indeed. I call it a stroke of good fortune that Mrs. Blewett happened by. We can settle the whole matter straight away.
Had to fire 3 server girls last month and 2 went up and quit on me this week.
I think Anne here will be just the girl for you, Mrs. Blewett.
Come here, girl. Got a name?
Anne, surely.
Don't appear as if there's much to you. You're a bit wiry. Sometimes wiry ones are the best. If I take you in, you'll have to be a good girl. Good, smart, and respectful too. And I expect you to earn your keep. You make no bones about that.
Then it's settled?
Yes, I suppose I might as well take her off your hands, Miss Cuthbert. Baby's been awful fractious, and I'm clean wore out. If you like, I can fetch her on now. Get your things, girl.
Well, I don't know.
What's that?
I didn't say that the matter was decided yet.
But Mr. Spencer
In
here
fact, Matthew is of a mind to keep her. I simply wanted to know how the error occurred. I'd best talk it over with Matthew before I decide.
You mean I've come all this way for no good reason?
Should we choose not to keep the child, I'll bring her over tomorrow night. Does that suit you, Mrs. Blewett?
Suppose it'll have to, Miss Cuthbert. Wasted a whole entire
Evening, Miss Cuthbert. Sorry about the mix-up. Sorry, Mrs. Blewett. I guess I misunderstood it. Again.
Oh, Miss Cuthbert, are you really going to let me stay at Green Gables?
It isn't decided yet. We may let Mrs. Blewett take you after all. She certainly needs you more.
I'd rather go back to the asylum than live with that Mrs. Blewett woman. She looks exactly like a weasel.
You should be ashamed. Hold your tongue and don't speak so, for goodness sake.
I'll do anything you want if only you'll keep me.
Well, go put your things away, and mind you close the door on the way in so the flies don't get in the house. And wipe your feet, please.
So Mr. Spencer's drive off.
Yes.
What's that Blewett woman doing here about?
Mrs. Blewett wanted to take Anne.
I wouldn't give a mangy dog to that Blewett woman.
Well, Matthew, it's either that or keeping the child ourselves, and now it seems sort of a duty.
Well, now,
And since you're so set on it, I suppose I might be willing to give it a try. As a sort of experiment for a few months at least.
yes, experiment, whatever you say, Marilla.
I might make a terrible mess of things, Matthew, but if you like, the girl can stay. On a temporary basis.
Well, now, I reckoned you'd come to see it in that light. She is such a bright little thing.
I suppose an old maid knows more about this than an old bachelor does.
Well, now, she'll need schooling. She's a smart one.
I'll enroll Anne in Sunday school straight away. And come fall, if the girl is still here, I'll send her to Avonlea school.
Well, now, she'll need clothes. Pretty dresses and such.
Matthew, I don't believe in pampering vanity. I'll make her simple, serviceable dresses.
There, Marilla. Have it your own way. Just be good and handy as you can, without spoiling her too
too much, of course.
When I fail, Matthew Cuthbert, there will be time enough for you to put your oar in.
Are you going to tell her tonight?
Heavens no, she wouldn't sleep a wink. Well, Marilla Cuthbert, you set your hand to the plow and there's no turning back. To think Matthew was behind it all.
Good night, bubbling brook, apple blossoms. I always say good night to the things I love. But it's no use loving Green Gables if you have to be torn away.
It's high time you said your prayers and got to bed.
No, I never say my prayers.
That is a very shameful thing.
Mrs. Thomas told me that God made my hair red on purpose, so I've never cared about him since.
Under my roof, Anne Shirley, you will kneel and say your prayers.
Why can't we go into a great field, look up into the blue sky, and just feel a prayer?
Kneel, thank God for what you have, and ask him humbly for what you want.
Gracious Heavenly Father, I thank Thee for the white way of delight and for the lake of shining waters. And please let me stay at Green Gables, and please, please let me be good looking when I grow up. I remain yours respectfully, Anne Shirley, spelled with an E. How is that?
I suppose a simple amen would have done better.
Oh, Miss Cuthbert, please let me know if you're going to let me stay. I can't bear not knowing.
Well, Matthew and I have decided to let you stay as a sort of experiment as long as you behave yourself.
I'll try, but it will be uphill work. Mrs. Thomas said I was desperately wicked.
I have no doubt.
Can I call you Aunt Marilla?
Plain Marilla will do.
But it would make me feel as if I really belonged to you.
I am not your aunt.
We could imagine.
I prefer to see things as they are.
Oh, Miss Cuthbert, Marilla, how much you miss.
You will learn to control that imagination of yours. Now go to bed and give your tongue a rest. It's high time someone adopted that child. She's next door to a perfect heathen. Well, you've decided on the experiment, and goodness knows what will come of it.
Of all things that are or ever will be, an old maid and a bachelor taking in a total stranger. She's been there for weeks, but I've yet to lay eyes on her on account of my laryngitis. I heard about the mistake. Couldn't you send her back?
Well, I suppose so. But Matthew took a fancy to her right away, and, well, I kind of like her myself. But she has her faults, Lord knows.
No telling how a child like that will turn out, Marilla. But I don't want to discourage you.
I decided to give it a fair try. A sort of experiment, you might call it.
Pure insanity is what I call it.
The place is more cheerful already. You never know what she'll say next.
Marilla! I found a spring in the woods near the maple trees. Maples are such sociable trees, always rustling and whispering to you. And I found friends and
settle down and stop your jabbering. This is Mrs. Lynde.
Well, they didn't pick you out for your looks, that's sure and certain. She's terrible, skinny and homely, Marilla. Come here, child, let me have a closer look at you. Lawful heart, did anybody ever see such freckles? And hair, it's as red as carrots.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. How dare you always lean on me? How dare you call me freckled and redheaded? You are rude. You are like woman. And how would you like to be told that you're dull and clumsy and probably don't even have a spark of imagination? And I don't care if I hurt your feelings. You are mine worse than ever before, and I'll never forgive you. Never, 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 never.
And go to your room and stay there till I come.
Did anybody ever see such a fit of temper?
You were too harsh about her looks, Rachel.
Marilla Cuthbert, upholding such a frightful display of temper.
Well, I'm not making excuses. She's been very naughty and needs a good talking to.
I have brought up 10 and buried 2. If you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't, you do that talking with a sturdy switch.
Exceptions must be made. Anne has never been taught what's right.
My, yes, the tender feelings of orphans brought in from Lord knows where. must be considered above all else.
You were too harsh, Rachel.
You'll have trouble with that young one. Seems her temper matches her hair. Wait till Bertha McPherson hears this.
Anne Shirley, get up right this minute. I'm ashamed of you. Get up. You had no right to speak so.
She had no right to call me skinny and ugly.
You say so often enough yourself.
That's different.
And I'm not saying that Mrs. Lynde was right. But that is not an excuse. She is one of my dearest and oldest friends, and you will apologize.
Lock me up in a dark, damp dungeon filled with snakes and toads. Feed me bread and water, but I can never ask Mrs. Lynde to forgive me.
Dungeons are rather scarce in Avonlea. But you'll stay here until you make up your mind to apologize.
I can't even imagine I'm sorry.
Perhaps your imagination will have improved by morning. She'll still get her meals regular, though. I don't believe in starving people into good behavior.
Anne. Are you making it, Anne?
Oh, Matthew, I feel so ashamed.
Don't be. That Rachel Lynde is a meddlesome old gossip. It's about time she got her due.
When I woke up this morning, I wasn't angry anymore.
Then the best thing to do is to just go and get it done with.
You mean apologize to Mrs. Lynde?
Yeah, apologize. That's the very word I was looking for.
I could never face Mrs. Lynde. I'd rather say shut up forever.
Well, Anne, it'll have to get done sooner or later. Marilla is a dreadful, determined woman.
It's too humiliating. I'd rather go to Mrs. Flewitt's.
That slave driver would work you to death.
I'm a failure. Just send me back to the orphanage.
No, Anne, don't say that.
Oh, Matthew, do you really want to keep me?
Well, the kitchen's an awful lonely place without you, Anne.
I'd do anything for your sake.
Well, then, just go smooth things over with Marilla. Here's a good girl.
I shall tell Marilla that I have at last repented.
But don't tell her I said anything.
I swear.
I wouldn't want her thinking I stuck my oar in when I promised her I wouldn't.
Wild horses couldn't drag it from me. How could wild horses do that anyway? Marilla!
Yes.
I'm sorry I lost my temper, and I'm willing to tell Mrs. Lynde.
Very well then, Miss Anne Shirley. We'll go right away before you change your mind. And please don't say anything too startling. Evening, Rachel.
Oh, Mrs. Lynde, never can I express all my sorrow, even if I used up a whole dictionary. I have disgraced the dear friends who let me stay at Green Gables, even though I'm not a boy, and I deserve to be cast out from respectable society forever and ever.
She is certainly enjoying herself enough.
I suppose what I said was a bit harsh. Every word was true, but what I said was true also, although I shouldn't have said it. Oh, Mrs. Lynde, please forgive me, or you will inflict lifelong grief on a poor orphan girl.
Was I sorry?
There, get up, child. Of course I forgive you. I'm such an outspoken person, so you mustn't mind me, Anne.
Spelled with an E.
And I once knew a girl with hair as red as yours, and when she grew up, it darkened to a handsome auburn.
Oh, Mrs. Lynde, you have given me a ray of hope.
Marilla, she might turn out all right, providing you keep her for a while. Thank you.
Mrs. Lynde, do you suppose that I might find a bosom friend in Avonlea?
A bosom what?
A bosom friend, a kindred spirit like Matthew.
They are both peculiar enough, if that's what she means.
Somebody my own age who I can confide in with all my soul.
Well, there is Diana Barry, though her mother's awful particular.
And I told Mrs. Barry you'd be over this afternoon for an apron pattern, so you'll meet Diana after all.
Thank you, Marilla.
Don't let Mrs. Barry hear about your imaginary friends. She'll think you're soft in the head.
It's about time that child had a real playmate.
I hope Diana's pretty and lovely with beautiful dark hair, not red-headed and homely. Such an elegant name, Diana, but I'm trembling with fear. What if she doesn't like me? That would be the most tragical disappointment of my entire life.
And don't use all those big words.
And I heard you like books. This one is thrilling. The heroine, she has 5 lovers.
I'd be thankful for just one, wouldn't you?
She has terrible troubles and she faints all the time.
I just love to faint, wouldn't you, Diana? It's so romantic.
You know, Mother says I keep my nose buried in books. She says if I had a pal, I'd probably get more fresh air.
We could walk in the woods.
Oh, and collect shells by the seashore.
Diana, could you possibly like me enough to be my bosom friend?
Well, I am glad you've come to Green Gables. There aren't very many other girls around. I mean, there's Minnie May. She's my nephew's sister, and she really doesn't do very much.
Diana, swear you will be my bosom friend forever and ever.
But isn't swearing dreadfully wicked? Mrs. Lynde says,
Swearing is the first step on the road to the devil's front door.
It just means promising solemnly.
oh, I can do that then.
Okay, first we need to join hands over running water. Pretend this path is running water. Now, I say, I, Anne Shirley, solemnly swear to be faithful to my bosom friend Diana Barry for as long as the sun and the moon both endure. Now you.
I, Diana Barry, solemnly swear to be faithful to my friend, Anne Shirley,
Spelled with an E.
spelled with an E, as long as the sun and the moon both endure. You're an odd girl, Anne, but I do think I like you.
Marilla said not to talk you to death.
Well, I am still breathing.
Diana!
Well, I've got to go now, but there is a Sunday school picnic, and it's happening this Sunday, and Mrs. Lynde is making ice cream, and please come.
Marilla, there's a Sunday school picnic. Can I go, please? I've never even tasted ice cream.
Well, I'd like to know why you can't obey me first.
Some people are naturally good. I guess I'm one of the others.
You were supposed to be home hours ago.
It's harder to be good when you have red hair. And besides, Diana and I had so much to talk about. We're bosom friends.
If you weren't so featherbrained, you'd keep track of time.
I'm sorry, Marilla. I won't be late again. One good thing about me, I never make the same mistake twice.
What good is that if you keep making new ones?
Oh, Marilla, please let me go to that picnic. I'll simply perish if I don't.
I may be strict and set in my ways, but I don't believe in young folks gadding about all creation.
Please, Marilla, please, can I go? This may be my only chance to taste ice cream.
No. However, since it is a Sunday school outing,
Oh, thank you, Marilla.
never mind your kissing nonsense. I'd rather see you do exactly as you're told.
Ice cream. I can't even imagine what that tastes like.
Here's a new dress for the picnic. Well, aren't you grateful, child?
Oh, I'm very grateful, Marilla. It's just that, well, puffed sleeves are so stylish.
I haven't the material to waste on puffy sleeves. Besides, those things look ridiculous.
I'd rather look ridiculous like everybody else than look plain and sensible all by myself.
Well, I trust you for that. Now go put your dress nice and neat.
Oh, Anne. Heard you like chocolates, so I got you some while I was in town.
Thank you.
Matthew, you should have bought her peppermints. They're wholesomer.
Seems like she's always been here.
Today she let a pie burn in the oven. Still, I can't imagine the place without her, muddle-headed though she is. And don't you be looking like I told you so.
Now, Marilla.
Matthew, I'll admit that I'm growing fond of her, but as far as I'm concerned, she's still on trial.
I never said a word.
Anything keeps me from that picnic, it shall be my lifelong sorrow. Mrs. Lynde says,
Blessed are they who expect nothing, for they shall not be disappointed.
but I think it's far worse to expect nothing.
And have you seen my amethyst brooch? I left it on the dresser when I came home from church on Sunday.
I passed by by your door, so I went in to look. Do you suppose that amethysts are the souls of good violets?
It doesn't matter. Did you go in and touch it?
Well, yes. I pinned it on to see how it would look.
And you had no business meddling with my things. Now tell me, where did you put it back?
Back on the dresser, on the pincushion, or in the china tray.
It's not there. Now, Anne, tell me the truth. Did you take it?
But I am telling the truth, Marilla, even if I'm led to the block for it, though I'm not exactly sure what a block is. So there.
You will stay here until you make up your mind to confess.
But the picnic is today. Let me out for the picnic, and I'll stay for as long as you like afterwards.
Until you confess, there will be no picnic.
What's wrong, Marilla?
Mother's amethyst brooch is missing. Anne probably lost it and is afraid to confess.
Well, now, maybe it fell behind the dresser.
I searched every nook and cranny of this house, Matthew. I stood up with her fits of temper, but I will not stand for dishonesty.
Well, now, maybe it fell in one of the drawers.
I emptied the drawers.
Well, now, maybe it,
Matthew, the child not only took the brooch, but lied about it. That's the pure and ugly truth, and you might as well face it.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
She's staying in her room until she confesses. In any case, she will be severely punished.
Well, I'm not going to have any part in that. You told me early on not to stick my oar in, and I'm not going to.
Her dishonesty hurts me far worse than losing Mother's brooch.
Marilla, I'm ready to confess.
Very well then, child. Let's hear what you have to say.
I took the brooch, yearning to play Lady Cordelia with a real amethyst. At the bridge over shining waters, it slipped through my fingers like so, and went sailing down, down, all purple and sparkly, sinking forever. That's the best I can do at confessing, Marilla.
You are the wickedest girl I ever heard of.
I suppose so. So it is your duty to punish me, but please get it over with, because I'd like to enjoy the picnic with nothing on my mind.
Picnic indeed. There'll be no picnic for you.
But you promised. That's why I confessed. Oh, Marilla, please let me go.
No. That's final. Not another word. That child is crazy or worse. Worse. Matthew, I'm afraid Rachel was right.
Now, I'll admit she did wrong, Marilla. But Anne was so set on that picnic.
I'm amazed at you, Matthew. She doesn't even realize how wicked she's been. That's what troubles me the most.
Marilla, she's such a young thing. Exceptions have to be made.
Matthew, trust you to make excuses for her, but I won't stand for sinfulness in my house.
Well, now, you know she's never had a proper bringing up.
The asylum will attend to that. Thank you.
Don't bother with dinner.
Matthew, what's wrong?
Nothing. I'm just not hungry.
Need to mend my black shawl. Gracious sakes, my amethyst brooch. I remember. I set it down on the dresser when I came home from church. Must have gotten snagged somehow.
No dinner, please, Marilla. My heart is broken. Besides, pork and greens are so unpoetical when one is in affliction.
And I found my amethyst brooch snagged to this shawl. What was that rigmarole you just recited?
You said I could go to the picnic until I confessed. It seems my effort was wasted.
And you do beat all, but it appears that I drove you to confess. So, if you will forgive me, we can start square again. It's time to get ready for the picnic.
I won't be too late.
They're not halfway gathered yet. Wash your face and comb your hair while I get your basket ready.
5 minutes ago, I was wishing I'd never been born, but now I wouldn't trade places with an angel.
That child is hard to fathom. I don't think I've ever seen anything in my life to equal her. Maybe school will settle her down. Then again, who knows what she'll come up with there?
The picnic today was scrumptious. That's a new word I learned. Prissy Andrews almost fell overboard and nearly drowned, but Mr. Phillips caught her by the sash. It's so romantic to almost drown. And as for ice cream, words fail me, but I can assure you it was an epoch in my life.
And be a good girl. Don't get into fights. Don't talk too much. And don't sass the teacher.
Josie, who is this Miss Shirley person anyhow?
Just some poor orphan girl from the asylum. But isn't that red hair something awful?
Maybe. Then again, maybe not.
Gilbert!
There we are. That's perfect. Good morning, Ruby. Good morning, Charlie. Good morning.
Class.
Good morning.
Class. Attention, please. Oh, Miss Shirley.
He winked at me!
Oh, don't mind Gilbert. He's a terrible tease. But isn't he good looking?
It's hardly good manners to wink at a strange girl.
Smart, too. Always head of the class.
Mrs. Hammond barely ever let me go to school on account of the twins, so I'm way behind. And Mr. Phillips called me a dunce.
Well, don't mind him. He really doesn't know anything.
And Josie Pye's.
She's born mean. Just ignore her.
Recess is over. Slate's out. It's time to check your sums.
Sorry, Mr. Phillips.
Very good, Ruby. All wrong, Moody.
But I tried my best, Mr. Phillips.
Well, not good enough. And for our new pupil, Miss Shirley. Well, I can see that they did not emphasize arithmetic at your former school.
Oh, after recess you said that we could finish our spelling bee.
Oh yes, that's right. Slate's down. Close your spelling books. Who's still up? Ruby's first. Category.
Oh, I know it. Category. Catagory.
Quite wrong. Sit down.
Where did I get that word?
Josie Pye. Omitted.
OMM. ITEDU.
Very good, Josie.
Mr. Phillips, I thought that omitted was spelled with one M and two T's.
So it is. I misunderstood. Gilbert. Knowledge.
Knowledge. KNOWLEDGE.
Miss Shirley. Strength.
Strength. STRENTH.
And Shirley, your spelling isn't quite so perfect as you think. Very good, Gilbert.
Don't mind Gilbert. He really always
Time
wins.
for your reading books.
Oh, Mr. Phillips!
I'll be in the cloakroom helping one of our older students. Coming, Prissy.
Here's my famous speedball. Mr. Phillips is dead gone on Prissy Andrews. She's nearly 16 and she's studying for entrance exams at Queen's Academy.
Was she the one who almost...
Gilbert, who's this?
Why, Romeo Phillips, of course.
Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
In the cloakroom with Prissy Andrews.
Class! Quiet!
Who wants to rest my lunch?
I'll trade you for an apple.
Somebody put a tip on my seat. I could have been fatally injured.
Who's going to stay after school today? Who's going to get their bottoms switched with rawhide?
Oh, Mr. Phillips!
Coming, Prissy.
Charlie, was that you?
Did I do a thing like that?
Yes.
Hey, Ruby Red Lips, want some candy?
Moody, let's dance! Studying, Charlie?
Oh, Miss Shirley.
Gilbert, have you seen all the freckles on poor orphan girl?
Is that for me? Why, thank you, Diana.
For your information, that note is addressed to me.
Oh, Miss Shirley, how do you spell carrots? C-A-R...
How dare you! You mean hateful boy! Edward! Gilbert!
And Shirley, What is the meaning of this?
It's my fault, Mr. Phillips. I teased her.
What a display of temper and vindictive spirit. Come to the blackboard.
Gilbert!
And Shirley has a very bad temper. Copy that sentence.
That she-devil almost killed you, Gilbert.
Tomorrow you will write that sentence 100 times. Maybe that should teach you to control your temper. Class dismissed.
What a dangerous girl.
Look here, Anne. I'm awfully sorry to cut your hair. Don't be mad at keeps.
I shall never speak to you again, Gilbert Blythe. Not for as long as I draw breath.
Oh, come on. I was only joking. Here, have a candy heart. Fine. I said I was sorry.
Really, Anne, he torments all of us girls. He calls me crowhair, and he never apologizes.
Diana, my soul has turned to iron. I shall never speak to Mr. Blythe again. Not for as long as I draw breath. Not for eons.
Anne, what is an eon?
I'm not sure. I read it in a book once.
You really shouldn't quote things you don't know about.
Is tea ready?
No, tea is not ready, thanks to your Miss Anne. Instead of coming home and doing her chores like she's supposed to, she's off gallivanting somewhere.
Well, now, Marilla, you may be judging her mighty hasty.
I am not. She needs to be pulled up short and sudden.
Well, I'm sure there's a perfectly good reason she's not home yet.
The minute she grows out of one quirk, she takes up another.
Anne must have a perfectly good explanation, Marilla.
Trust
Anne
you
needs
to make
for explanation.
I trust you to make excuses for her, but it is my job to raise her up prim and proper. I will tell you when tea is ready, Matthew. Gracious sake, Anne Shirley, what have you been doing up here? Are you sick?
Marilla, please go away and don't look at me. This has been the worst day of my entire life.
Do I dare ask what you did at school today?
I broke my slate over Gilbert Blythe's head.
And what was that for?
He called me carrots, and Mr. Phillips insulted me in front of the whole school. My life is over. I will never leave this room again, except to go back to the orphanage. Oh, Marilla, please go away.
No, Anne Shirley, get up right this minute and tell me what's the matter with you.
I am the unhappiest girl on Prince Edward Island. Look at my hair, Marilla.
Why? Anne Shirley, it's green.
I thought red hair was awful, but it turns out green hair is 10 times worse.
Whatever did you do to your hair?
I dyed it.
Dyed it. Didn't you know that was a sinful thing to do?
I thought that getting rid of red hair would be worth the risk.
Well, if I were you, I would have at least dyed it a respectable color.
I didn't pick green. He said I'd have beautiful raven tresses.
Who said?
The peddler who drove by. He said my rich, lustrous black would never wash off. And he was right about one thing. I've scrubbed and scrubbed, and it won't come off.
Well, you can't go around looking like that, can you?
I'll never go back to school again. Josie Pye would laugh at me, and some of the others would think I'm a disgrace.
We'll have to cut it. That's the only way.
All I do is get into trouble.
You haven't been in this scrape for weeks, Anne. It was overdue.
You want to send me back to the asylum. I failed the trial.
And you are a trial, if truth be told.
And I did so want to please Matthew because he wanted me.
And we both want you.
You're not going to send me back?
I shall have my hands full, that's for certain, but you shall live here with me and Matthew.
So I'll be Anne of Green Gables forever and ever?
For as long as you like. But you will return to school. You don't know so much that there isn't a thing or two Mr. Phillips can't teach you.
Oh, Marilla, I shall devote all my energies to being good and never try to be beautiful ever again.
It is vain to think about your looks so much, Anne.
How can I be vain when I'm so homely?
You're sitting on this. It is handsome as handsome does.
It's nice to know tomorrow's a new day with no mistakes in it.
I warrant that you'll make plenty.
There must be a limit to the mistakes one person can make. When I get through, I'll be done with making mistakes forever.
Isn't that a comforting thought?
Marilla, today has turned out to be a splendid day after all. What would the year be without a September?
About 11 months.
That Anne girl looked like a plucked chicken till her hair grew back, red as ever. And in June, Mr. Phillips ups and resigns, if you want my opinion, which I'm sure you don't. The only reason he got hired in the first place is because his uncle's on the school board. Canada's going to the dogs, mark my words. It's plain proof that things cannot be perfect in an imperfect world. Marilla!
I'm coming, Rachel. Anne, don't be dawdling, for goodness sake. Anne! I might as well be calling after Quinn.
Oh, Marilla, I shall be very good today because it is an anniversary. Do you know what happened this day last year?
I can't remember anything special.
It wouldn't seem important to you, but this day marks an epoch in my life. The day that I came to Green Gables.
Marilla! Coming, Rachel.
Of course, it wouldn't seem important to you, but are you sorry you kept me?
I can't say I'm sorry. Not exactly sorry.
Marilla!
It's true you've settled down a bit, Anne, which is why I've invited Diana over to tea.
Marilla, how lovely! Thank you.
I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but open a jar of preserves, set the cake on the table, and there's a bottle of cordial in the pantry. Offer Diana some.
We will be perfect ladies, I assure you.
For heaven's sake, keep your wits about you.
Marilla, we're late for Ladies' Aid.
I'm coming, Rachel.
I'm over 13. By next year, I'll be a grown-up.
That's a very comforting thought. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I might be making a terrible mistake.
I'll ask Diana if she takes sugar. I know she doesn't, but I'll ask anyway.
Good afternoon, Anne dear.
Good afternoon, Diana.
I suppose Mr. Cuthbert is hauling potatoes to the dock?
Yes, our crop is especially good this year. Have a seat, Diana. Thank you. May I take your hat?
Yes. Our cucumber crop is excellent, and our turnips are doing much better than we expected.
Would you like some cordial, Diana? Oh,
Yes.
help yourself.
Thank you.
And excuse me, there are so many things one must attend to when one is hostess.
I just remembered Ruby Gillis with a magic pebble, and it charmed all of her warts away. True as you live. And Gilbert
Diana, I cannot allow you to speak of that person.
I didn't know cordial was so good.
Have more, Diana.
Thank you. This is much better than Mrs. Lynde's. Funny, it doesn't taste anything like Mrs. Lynde's.
Marilla is trying to teach me to cook, but it is uphill work. Yesterday, I was trying to bake a cake, but I got to daydreaming. Instead of flavoring it with vanilla, I flavored it with rubbing liniment. I was thinking of the loveliest story. You took ill with the smallpox, but I nursed you back to health.
Oh, thank you, Anne dear.
Then I took ill with the smallpox and died. So you planted a rose bush by my grave and watered it with your tears.
Oh, how sad.
You never forgot the friend of your youth who sacrificed her life to bring you.
Oh,
Diana?
I feel very strange.
feel very dizzy.
But you can't go, not without cake or cherry preserves.
No, I really must go right home.
Perhaps you really do have the smallpox. I need to get your hat, Diana. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never forsake you. I'll nurse you back to health. But I do wish you'd stay for tea.
No. Oh,
Diana Barry, whatever's the matter with you?
I don't know.
And Shirley, what have you done to my daughter?
I had raspberry cordial.
That is not cordial. That's wine, Marilla's currant wine, of which I have never approved of.
Well,
And Shirley, you have gotten my daughter drunk and brought her home in this disgraceful condition.
But I didn't mean to, Mrs. Barry. If you were a poor orphan girl with just one bosom friend in the whole world, would you intoxicate her on purpose?
I will never allow Diana to play with you again.
Then you
never.
shall cover my life with a dark cloud of woe.
And Shirley, I suggest you go home and behave yourself.
Oh! The next morning, I tried to bid farewell to Diana, but Mrs. Barry slammed the door in my face.
And you certainly have a genius for getting into trouble. Can't you tell the difference between cordial and wine?
I never tasted it, and besides, I thought the bottle was cordial.
This will be a fine story for all those folks who get down on me for making my wine.
My heart is broken. I've lost Diana, and we're parted forever.
I only make it for medicinal purposes.
You talk to Mrs. Barry, please.
I tried.
God himself couldn't do a thing with such an obstinate person.
You ought not to speak so, Anne. I told Mrs. Barry that my wine was not meant to be guzzled 3 glassfuls at a time. If I were her, I'd sober Diana up with a good spanking.
Anne? Oh, thank heaven, Diana! Your mother has relented!
No, she hasn't. And I can only stay a minute. I've come to say goodbye.
A minute is a very short time for an eternal farewell.
I've lost my girlhood chum.
In years to come, thou memory wilt shine o'er my lonely life. May I have a lock of thy jet black tresses?
I don't have any black tresses.
Your hair, Diana!
Oh, yes.
Fare thee well, beloved friend.
Yes, I've got to run. Fare thee well.
Henceforth, we meet as strangers. Oh, Marilla, Diana and I had the loveliest farewell. Thee and thou are ever so romantic.
Anne, I feel a little foolish. I just remembered that the cordial was in the cellar and not in the pantry.
I've lost Diana, and my make-believe friends are gone. Oh, Marilla, I don't think I shall live very long. Perhaps when Mrs. Barry sees me lying cold and dead, she shall feel remorse and let Diana come to my funeral.
Well, Anne, I doubt you'll die as long as your tongue works.
Marilla, this lock of Diana's hair, bury it with me.
I promise.
Josie said, I dare you to climb and walk the ridgepole.
Ruby, it's not my fault.
But I said, don't do it, Anne. You'll fall and kill yourself. Never mind Josie Pye.
Stop talking. Stop moving. Bring her up here. Let me see her.
Quick.
What will I do? Is she dead?
Is she killed? Are you killed?
Say something, Anne. You gave me such a scare.
Killed.
Thought I'd lost her for certain.
I do believe I'm rendered unconscious.
Where?
Boys, will you take Anne to her room?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Not right to dare someone to do something so
entrance.
Well, I mopped the fence, didn't I?
That's different. Girls, Matthew is in the back pasture. Will you send him for Dr. Stevens?
Sorry, Miss Cuthbert. Hope she's all right.
Marilla, I fear I sprained my ankle. What were you doing on that ridgepole? I had to climb it. Josie dared me. My honor was at stake. Is it this ankle? Yes, it is that ankle. It serves you right for such tomfoolery. Aren't you sorry for me, Marilla? It was your own doing, Anne. That's why you should feel sorry for me. If I could blame somebody else, I'd feel a lot better. The trouble is, you never stop to think. Well, thinking things over spoils everything, Marilla. Dr. Stevens will have to set that ankle. You'll be off your feet for weeks. I'm at school. Gilbert, they'll all get ahead of me. Oh, I'm such an afflicted mortal. One thing is plain to see. The fall didn't affect your tongue. Marilla, if you knew all the things I want to say and don't, you give me some credit. I doubt it. I thought I'd lost her for certain there. I don't know if I could handle that. I'm such a trial to Marilla. I guess that's why she had tears in her eyes. Marilla Cuthbert, it is sinful to set your heart too much on any living creature.